Since 2015, UEFA have been developing plans for a third-tier European tournament to exist below the Champions League and Europa League. Their mandate was to give club sides from smaller nations a taste of glory on the continental stage. Come 2018, and a UEFA meeting in Dublin concluded with an announcement that the competition had been approved. The new tournament was provisionally named the Europa League 2, before the rather long-winded UEFA Europa Conference League was officially unveiled a year later. That gave birth to the rather uncatchy abbreviation, the UECL, but for the context of this video, it will be known as the Conference League. It is scheduled to run for 3 years from 2021 to 2024, when reforms to the Champions League will kick in. UEFA's president Alexander Ceferin delivered a speech highlighting the widespread demand for a tournament more accommodating to teams from smaller nations, with the UECL's inception making UEFA's club competitions more inclusive than ever before. Ceferin stated that collectively at least 34 nations would be present across the group stages of all UEFA club tournaments. There was also a statement from the former European Club Association chairman Andrea Agnelli, who added, "We believe that this outcome ensures that the UEFA club competitions continue to develop in a manner which is fair and balanced." Oh, the irony. It all sounds promising in nature, but how will the new tournament operate? And what are the positives and negatives to UEFA's new creation? Let's find out. So how does it work? The Conference League will feature 32 sides split into 8 groups of 4. Matches will be played on a Thursday, with kick-off scheduled for 5:45 PM and 8 PM UK time. Nothing unusual there, but qualification for the tournament is a monstrous process, with no teams entering the group stage directly. In fact, 176 sides will feature in the 4 preliminary rounds at one stage or another. As it's aimed at promoting football in lower-ranked nations, no additional European qualifying berths have been allocated to the continent's Big 5 leagues. Instead, one of their Europa League spots has been swapped out. This means from now on the likes of England, Germany and Spain will only feature 2 clubs in Europe's secondary tournaments. UEFA's coefficient, their ranking system for domestic leagues, dictates the allocation for the remaining qualifying spots into the Conference League. As mentioned, the Big 5 will each have 1, while those from 6th to 15th will have 2, 16th to 50th have 3, and finally the bottom 5 nations like Andorra and San Marino will send 2. It's also worth noting that Liechtenstein will provide just 1 cup winner due to having no league structure. Teams enter the 4 rounds of qualifying at different moments depending on their coefficient strength. For example, the sole entries of Europe's Big 5 only have to feature in the final playoff, while those defeated in the Europa League qualifiers also trickle down at various points. There is also a separate Champions path into the group stage that will see domestic title winners eliminated from earlier stages of qualification for both the Champions League and Europa League battle it out for 5 lucky spaces. Ultimately, 32 sides reach the group stage, including 10 teams who fall in the Europa League final playoff round. From then on, the competition plays out almost as you would expect, though in an added twist, UEFA has added a new preliminary knockout round that takes place after the group stage. Here, the 8 group runners-up of the UECL play the 8 teams that finished 3rd in their Europa League groups. Whoever wins advances to face the 8 group winners already in the round of 16, and so on. The final 2 teams will face off in Tirana, Albania on the 25th of May 2022. The reward for the inaugural champion? A spot in the Europa League the following season. It means for an English side, reaching the final will add a minimum of 15 matches to their calendar. But for the likes of Welsh sides Bala Town and the New Saints, who enter in the first round of qualifying, that number will be significantly higher. So, plenty of opportunities for smaller nations. However, the tournament's inception does mean that entry into the Europa League has become more exclusive than ever. In order to accommodate the new competition, UEFA has reduced the size of the Europa League group stage from 48 to 32 sides. As a result, no nation outside UEFA's top 15 ranked associations have been allocated a qualifying berth, irrelevant of their domestic cup or league performance. Only their title winners could possibly enter, should they fall during the latter stages of the Champions League qualifiers. UEFA's reasoning for the changes, aside from slimming down the heavily bloated Europa League, is that the UECL affords smaller nations a more realistic opportunity of featuring in European competition. 16 more sides will take part in the group stages of a UEFA tournament as a result. And for a smaller nation like Northern Ireland, there are obvious perks to the restructure. The Northern Irish Football League Premiership has never featured a club in a European group stage. Last season they had 3 teams involved in qualifying: Linfield, Glentoran and Coleraine. As of 2021, that number will be increased to 4, having improved their coefficient ranking to 42nd in recent years. Next season should provide the best opportunity for at least one of those sides to pass through the qualifiers against similar opposition and get into the Conference League proper. Meanwhile, if champions Linfield can get past the first round of the Champions League qualifiers, then they'll have at least 3 attempts to get into at least one European competition. For UEFA and Northern Ireland, this is good news. However, there is an argument that locking out the majority of sides from the Europa League will only enrich the continent's elite. For all its critics, success in the Europa League can equal big business. In 2019-20, a spot in the group stage guaranteed a club €2.92 million, with further funds depending on performance. But even featuring in the first qualifying round banked aside almost €250,000. UEFA are yet to release the prize money details for the Conference League, but it seems almost impossible to imagine that the reward will match that of its older siblings, especially considering the Europa League and Champions League collectively lost £514 million in 2020 due to reduced TV and sponsorship income. The UECL may still be a financial benefit to teams like Glentoran and Linfield, who thrive off UEFA's smaller handouts, but for nations higher up the coefficient rankings, it could be a different story. Back in 2019, the Herald in Scotland labelled the competition's creation as potentially disastrous for Scottish football, prior to their rise up the UEFA rankings. Now, it's teams from the Swiss Super League, currently 17th, that may suffer. Take FC Basel, a side with a relatively strong history in Europe. Next season, they will have to be content with a Conference League qualifying spot after finishing runners-up to Young Boys. Considering they have a wage bill almost 30 times that of Northern Irish champions Linfield, the prospect of playing against unheralded European minnows with reduced prize money doesn't look great. For clubs from Europe's top 5 leagues, the competition could merely become an unwanted addition to their already hectic schedules. Former UEFA chief executive and current president of the European leagues, Lars-Christer Olsson, cautioned against this very issue. In an interview with Swedish press, he warned, "You will play against less interesting teams, which probably means you don't fill your stadiums." At the same time, the indication has been that you won't receive any extra financial support from the Champions League. It risks becoming a financial loss-making deal for the clubs participating in the Conference League. Therefore, a wider criticism of the UECL is that it's just another revenue generator for UEFA. Though the smaller nations were finally getting what they want, there is every chance it will lose momentum quickly if the quality fails to please. Some of the teams with a place booked in the qualifiers include the Greek pairing of PAOK and AEK Athens. Molde of Norway are joined by Aberdeen and potentially Hibernian from Scotland. From Portugal, Pacos de Ferreira will be involved, along with Vitesse Arnhem from the Netherlands. And there will be some big teams on display too. From the Premier League, the winner of the Carabao Cup is guaranteed a spot in the Conference League playoffs. That's all well and good, but Manchester City have won the last 4 editions of the competition. In fact, you have to go back to 2013 when Swansea beat Bradford to find a non-Champions League contender who would benefit from this pathway. Manchester City will obviously not be entering, therefore their place will be passed on to the next highest ranked side in the Premier League, which is not qualified for UEFA competition. At the time of writing, that's Tottenham in 7th, though it could be West Ham, Everton and Arsenal too. From Germany, Union Berlin are on course to the UECL, though Borussia Mönchengladbach and Freiburg could have something to say about that. In Spain, it's Villarreal who sit 7th, unless they win the Europa League, which should hand Celta Vigo their place, while over in Italy, either Roma or Sassuolo will enter the competition's inaugural year. So still some potentially exciting fixtures on the cards, and some huge away days for fans of smaller nations who have never had their moment in the spotlight. UEFA's next big step, however, will be ensuring that the big sides are motivated to take part. Mixing in a selection of teams who ultimately view the Conference League as a hindrance could devalue the competition's worth and damage its foundations. By 2024, we will know if UEFA's gamble has paid off. So that was our explainer of the new UEFA Europa Conference League. What do you make of it? Would you want your team to be part of it? As always, if you're not subscribed to Football Daily, make sure you do so with notifications switched on, and we'll see you next time.